Hello, everyone. It's lovely to be here. Of course, I'm Arul Velusamy, and today we are on the second episode, week 2 of scrutinizing Hinduism and other Indian religions. Um, I'm glad to be here. Of course, I'm from India, and so this is essentially interaction with people who are my own people. So I'm really delighted to be here today. For those who are not familiar, let me bring up the schedule, normal weekly schedule. You should see the weekly schedule scrolling through the bottom right now. Mondays, unbiblical quote unquote churches, Roman Catholicism, Eastern Orthodoxy, and other similar things, all of which we see as corruptions of proper first century Christianity. Tuesdays, Judaism of all sorts. Wednesdays, Islam. Thursdays, 2 sessions. The first one is right now, Hinduism and other Indian religions. And the second session is in 3 hours, which is on atheism and agnosticism. On Fridays, we allow people to come on board and ask challenging questions on Christianity. So that's our weekly schedule. I'm glad to be here. Let me, before we move to anything else, begin with a prayer. Father, we come before your throne of grace. Lord, thank you for this time. You are our God, and that's a marvelous privilege. You are not just God of Christians, you are the God of the universe. We praise you, we honor you, we bless you. Thank you for our precious Lord Jesus Christ, who allowed his body to be broken for us and blood to be shed for us, so we can have an atonement for our sins. As human beings, we are wicked, deviant. I am deviant, I am wicked, but because of the precious Lord Jesus Christ, I have redemption, salvation, a hope of being with you in eternity, because my sins are washed by your precious blood. Thank you. Thank you for this marvelous privilege. Lord, commend my precious fellow Indians in your hands. Hope most of whom are fellow Indians, but of course you can have non-Indian people following Indian religions also. Commend them also in your hands. Pray for your rich blessings for them. Lord, pray that this time might be productive, meaningful, friendly, and more light, less heat. Lord, that we might together try and focus on what the truth is. Help us, Lord, we pray. Bless you, give you thanks. In Jesus' precious name we pray. Amen. Amen. So just to clarify, of course, I am a Christian. This is a Christian channel. The panel members, I'm, of course, today on my own right now, but the panel members are normally in various different streams. We are Christians, Bible-believing Christians. We believe in the fact that God created the universe, God of the Bible created the universe, and then human beings have messed up, including each one of us. We have various issues in and of ourselves: anger, hatred, malice, lust, pride, all sorts of different issues. And we believe in the fact that only the historical Jesus, the Son of God, God is in 3 persons in eternity: Father, Son, Holy Spirit. And only in the Son of God we have redemption. We have a way of saying, hey, you know what, I am messed up, but my mess is cleared in the name of Jesus Christ. And because of Jesus Christ, we have hope of being in eternity with God. So that's our worldview as Christians. So let's crack on with today's subject. We have a number of I have a number of people on the chat, which is rather lovely. I have a few people already joined on the stream, which is lovely. So I'm going to give a brief introduction of the topic at hand. People who might have joined last week might be aware it was jam-packed. 10-15 people had to leave without being able to speak on the stream. And so today, I think as part of a revision, what we have in mind is we want to focus on a particular broad topic and present that as a challenge, And the broad topic today is very much on the question of Ramayana is what we have picked, but you can go with Mahabharata also if that is convenient. The two itihasas together, you can choose one of them. The point is very simple. The challenge is very simple. From what we understand, in terms of available evidence, they both come across as late literature, not as early as they are purported to be. And so the challenge is to really welcome people to come on board, to provide evidence, to demonstrate how these are early literature. That is the underlying theme for today. And so when I'm going to bring up people one by one, those who are in the absolutely. Display name, you have been here before. It's lovely to see you again. And so a number of people waiting, a couple of people before you also. Let me bring people on board one by one, but we are going to have a time limit. I think 15 minutes each would be the time limit based on the understanding of the reception. 15 minutes each. Please, I welcome you all. You are precious. Every one of you is precious to me as a fellow human being, as a fellow Indian, and some perhaps even as fellow Tamils. Very precious. But because the time limit, I'll really be quickly getting onto the subject when I bring you on board. So please bear with me on that. Having said that, let me bring Veer. You are number one. How are you doing?
Are you listening my voice? Am I audible?
Veer, you are audible. I can hear you. How are you doing?
Sir, it's really nice to have a talk with you because I usually watch your videos on your YouTube, and I'm a kind of a fan of yours.
Well,
So
thank you very much.
yeah,
Thank you very much. If you've been following our videos,
yeah. This
lovely
is
to.
the first time. This is the first time I saw your Hinduism. So I thought let's join and let's learn from you something about because you have a very good knowledge.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Just give me 1 second, Veer. Let me just. So, Sister Cherokee, I'm speaking to the general public at the moment. Sister Cherokee is there on the chat. She is one of our admins, and the rules for the chat message is up there. Please stay focused on the chat. Please stay focused on the main discussion, but please stay respectful. We may disagree, but we need to disagree uh, in a in a friendly manner. We need to have more light and less heat, and that's the goal. So please respect in the chat. Please respect the conversations. So Veer, lovely to see you.
Yeah.
Lovely to
Same
see
here.
that
Same here.
you're here for the first time. Now let's get cracking. Did you see the? Did you hear the challenge today, Veer?
Yeah. Sir, you can ask me. Matlab, any.
Yeah. So, question where to be would be, in my view, Ramayana and Mahabharata have particular dates in mind, which are rather late as compared to what is normally claimed. You might have heard of, claims such as 8,000 BC, 10,000 BC, even later, even earlier, and so on. I don't know if you make such claims. If you do make such claims, I'd really want to find out if there is evidence to support that sort of early claims.
So you are asking that is there any proof that Ramayana is 8,000 or something 5,000 years old like that?
Exactly. Yeah.
So if we talk about the literature, see what I'm saying is what I know. Maybe I'm wrong, so I'm not offending any other person of my community or other. So I'm saying if you're talking about the literature in India, the there was oral tradition. There was oral form of tradition. So maybe there are no sources of Ramayana which are very 8,000 years old. So, but what we believe is that Ram existed, and there are lot of proofs available, like archaeological places are there, and what my family also believe is that we are ancestor of Rama. So if I say that Ram didn't existed, so there is a question on my family belief that we came from we are not ancestors. He was not our ancestor. It's like that. So
Mm.
we cannot say that Ram didn't existed. But if we talk about the literature, so will say, yeah, maybe there were oral tradition more, and there might be some literature later written. I mean, so I can only say that. But
Sure.
in India, the history is not based on literatures. I think it's an oral based on oral tradition because it's too old. I think.
Sure. So let me clarify. I heard you there, Veer. So let me clarify. Um, by literature, by Ramayana and literature, I didn't necessarily mean the written text. If you
Okay.
think there was an oral
Mhm.
tradition for Ramayana, which preceded the
Yeah, yeah,
actual penning it down, on
yeah.
some form of writing
Mhm.
itself, that's fine. But even to claim there is an oral tradition, you need to
Yeah.
have evidence. I mean, long story short, it's something like this: where we know, not just in India, across the world, there are criminals. There are all sorts of rumors, all sorts of lies, and everything else is spread. And so, essentially, for any claim in life, not just religious claims, for any
Mhm.
claim in life, of course, we would need an evidence-based approach.
Mhm.
And so that is where I'm going to come in and say,
Mhm.
I heard you well and clear. Perhaps there was an oral tradition. Now, my
Yeah.
question would be: is there an evidence even
Yeah.
for that oral tradition?
Okay. Uh, I can present. There is a tradition in India that we, from very long ages, we write down the names of our ancestors. Like there is a book written from long ago where you can find. Suppose I'm Veer and my father, so they will write my name of father, then my child, and my so on. So there was a person in our family, not in exactly in our family, but in our, I mean, uh, what you say that I'm Kushwa. I'm Kushwa. So in Kushwa, there is a person, and she someone said that you are not the ancestor of Ram. So to prove them that there is ancestor, she went to there is a place in Haridwar. There is a written records, and they are too old. I don't know how much old they are, but then she proved that see, if you go one by one, then one by one, and she proved that see, this is the lineage, the total lineage up to the Ram. I haven't seen that, but this was the it's where I live. It's the incident where I live. So so when we see all this, so we it is a very much good to think that no, he existed, because Ramayan is a 8,000, 10,000 years ago. It might be, I'm not saying it is, it might be, let's suppose it might be a story, or it might be a kind of a thing, but after seeing all this, we can assume no, it's all true, because
Yeah.
yeah.
Sure. Veer, what you'd hear me, not today, but
Mm.
over maybe in a couple of months or so, I will
Uh-huh.
actually bring up strong evidence,
Okay.
strong historical, archaeological evidence to demonstrate that literature such as Ramayana and Mahabharata could not have predated around the 3rd century BC. Couldn't have. The absolute cutoff is around 3rd century BC. It couldn't have
See.
predated. It could only come from later. I would, in due course of time,
Yeah.
provide proper, solid evidence. And this is where my challenge to you is, I understand that you are suggesting that people have these claims, but can I? Do you have any evidence to present? Do you think, maybe if not today, maybe sometime in the
Okay. Okay.
future, where you can say, hey, you know what? I'll give you a simple example. For
Okay.
example, Qutub Minar is an archaeological artifact. For example,
Okay.
Taj Mahal is an archaeological artifact.
Mm-hmm.
Sarnath Pillar, it's an archaeological artifact.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not necessarily only talking about archaeological artifacts,
Yeah.
of popularity that
Hmm.
I have just mentioned. You can bring any artifact, whether it's archaeological or literary or any sort of artifact. It may not be as popular as some of the others. It might be less popular. That's fine too.
Hmm.
But some form of evidence that we can sort of comment on, critique, and try and understand the veracity, and then say, hey, you know what, now we are on firm ground. You see what I'm saying?
Okay, okay, okay. See, I'm not sure that there are some evidence, but the news when I hear about is like you also mentioned about Mahabharata. Na? So in
Yeah,
Mahabharata there is a place known Dwarka, and there in Mahabharata it has mentioned that Dwarka drowned in the ocean. I mean, but recently people have found a city where exactly the Dwarka is, which is in the ocean. So when we see, I don't know that city that existed in the ocean is 8,000 years old or not. I haven't checked that because for me something evidence is like 100% sure. For me, this is true. But such old things when we then which are discovered, right? There's a city of Dorka which is underwater. So when we hear, so we it make us believe that yes, it is that see how true maybe there is no literature, or maybe no there is no artifacts because uh, after a long time it may be not available. It's like that. But when
yeah,
we hear about things, so these are the evidence for us, like the lost city has been found. It might be
yeah,
some other people, but at the exact same place where Dwarka is mentioned in the literature. And even there are many things in Ramayana. If you have maybe a lot of people don't know, there is a mention of a place, a Bali. There's a character known as Bali, and someone asked Bali that where I go to search Sita. The Sita, then that person said, you go there, there is an island, and there you found a mountain which is a golden mountain, which is golden mountain. And he then described the mountain. Then in that mountain you'll find a kind of a big design. So when people have researched, like archaeological has researched according to that literature, so they have found that same mountain related. I mean, I'm not saying that is the one only, but that same mountain with that same symbol, not in India. I'm saying not in India. It's far away from India. It's in America. It's like that. So when there was people were searching for Sita, they have gone across the globe. This is mentioned in the Ramayana. So when
yeah,
there is some mention like search that, go that place, they will find that. So there is a Lord Ananta mentioned in Ramayana, and when they go there, so the same mountain with the same description is present in the South America. So I'm saying when we see all this, so it's a kind of an evidence. Maybe that mountain is not that mountain, but people have found such kind of things that really existed. Maybe there is some, like people have written the stories, maybe the concept of Ramayana, literature Ramayana. Maybe there are variations, but when we see such kind of things like the same mountain, and I'm not talking that this is the only evidence, because I'm not the that person who knows everything, but few things that I know. uh, I don't I just can I search on Google and tell you that mountain name?
yeah. Sure. We actually
Yeah.
went through something similar last week, but please go ahead.
Yeah.
Um, Veera,
Someone told you.
so go on.
uh, Does someone else told you that about this
Are you
mountain?
are you talking about, are you, yeah, you did mention gold, didn't you? Or are you talking about the one where you're talking about some sort of a, at the peak of the mountain, something that's a golden pylon with three branches,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
looks like a palm tree.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
There's a square in at the bottom.
with
Not
a platform, with a base which is gold again. We went through this detail last week, Veer,
yeah,
and actually, no, it doesn't. I'm not sure if you, maybe you didn't see last week,
yeah, yeah. I
but
did. I
but
yeah.
no, it isn't what was shown. It's not in South America. That
No,
that idea
I
was
don't remember.
wrong.
Actually, I don't remember. Let me tell you the name. Actually, I don't remember the
Okay.
country, but I'm just
Yeah, yeah,
giving you an idea. I'm just because I don't have that much good memory. I'm just giving you an idea.
absolutely.
Manan,
Uh,
I'll just Google it
yeah,
because I just watched a video of an archaeologist recently.
yeah.
Mahabharata. Sorry, I'm taking so much time. I'll
No
just
problem. You still have maybe 5 more minutes, and then
okay.
I'll
Okay,
move on to someone else.
then it's okay.
एक बच्चे के हाथ में
In the meantime, I'm also quickly searching because we brought that up last week. I just wanted to see if I can quickly grab hold of that. Uh, yeah, is that candelabra in
Yeah,
Paracas
candelabra.
candelabra?
Candelabra.
Yeah.
Yeah, candelabra.
So let me bring this up. I mean, we went through this exact detail last week. Let me bring this up.
Yeah, yeah,
Do you see that there?
yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
this one.
essentially,
This is
yeah, we went through the detail, the reference in the supposed reference in Mahabharata referring to this, and
yeah.
we figured out that this is bogus. This has nothing to do with. I mean, ignoring all the context and everything else for a moment, we figured out, for example, that this is not a golden structure. This is
No,
not at the
I'm not.
peak of.
See, golden is a color. You're saying golden is a color. Color. So it's like it's described. Suppose I say you a gold. Maybe someone has perceived something else and told someone something else. So it's like golden is like a sand color can be golden. See, someone can
Sand.
describe because can
No,
I
if
mean
you look.
see, if you I'm not saying previously people used to these all literature are written in the poetic form. See, poetic form. So when you go, people can change the I mean not change they can describe in their in their opinion and in their ways like that.
Yeah, the problem here is this.
Yeah.
I can even bring the reference up from Mahabharata, Valmiki Ramayana. Sorry, this was in Ramayana, I think, not
Yeah,
Mahabharata.
Ramayana.
Yeah,
Vali.
I I I can even bring that reference up. This one does not cater to that at all. Um,
No, I'm not saying this is true. See, I'm not the one person if I'm saying this is true, but people claim that. And when we hear all this, so and they're not only this thing, this is something that recently discovered. I mean, people maybe some archaeologically is trying to relate this thing to Ramayana. Maybe that can happen. But I'm saying,
you see what I'm sharing here on the screen right now.
yeah,
That one. So this is the suggested
hmm,
reference.
okay,
You see a golden pylon resembling a palm tree, a golden pylon resembling a palm tree with three branches as its heads is
yeah,
established on the peak of that mountain
yeah,
as the insignia of that great soul Ananta, and it
yeah.
will be lustrous with a golden podium. You see,
Okay.
there are many details here. One is the golden pylon. Another is sitting on a golden podium. The golden pylon it resembles a palm tree with three branches as its heads. So at the
Hmm,
top, I'm assuming, as its heads, three branches, and it is
hmm,
sitting on the peak of the mountain. On the peak
hmm,
of the mountain. So there are
hmm.
4 or 5 details, none of which actually add up here. So if you look at this, for example,
Okay.
if you think the pylon is golden, then the entire mountain is golden. If you think,
No, no.
but I don't think you'd call this a golden color. This is not golden color in my mind.
See,
But
in
even if, one second, Veer, let me please finish this. Even if you call this a golden, even if you refer to this as golden, then the point is the entire mountain is golden. But it doesn't stop there. The problem doesn't stop there. The problem goes beyond that, because it talks about 3 branches at its head.
okay,
Here you don't have 3 branches at its head. So maybe if you consider that as 3 branches at its head, then these are not captured. These clearly are not at its head, and therefore you can't capture this in the text. This in no way, shape, or form resembles a palm tree. This is not how a palm tree would remotely look like. And ultimately, this is not in the peak of the mountain. The peak of the mountain is there. If this structure was somewhere there, you can take this seriously. The point is, this: if this is called the peak, then this could be called the foot of the mountain also, and because it's halfway. You can reach the peak from there. In 5 or whatever distance. And this, to me, both seem similar distance in terms of height. So in every detail, it is far-fetched. And that is my point. Now, coming back to my major point, Veer, please, let me say this. In relation to what we are talking about, um, um, we need reasonably solid evidence. Details matter. Every details matter. Now, what I don't mean by that is, I'm not suggesting when we have a particular story, necessarily every detail can be verified. I'm not suggesting that at all. With history, you can't establish perhaps many things and so on. But my point is, the fundamental core we should be able to establish, the fundamental core of the literature. If we can't establish, then we are really on very flimsy ground. That'll be my suggestion, Veer. Now, can I please suggest something? I know we are coming up to. I'll give you a last word, but can I please suggest to you, Veer, maybe next week or the week after or something, if you can please do a little bit more research, please, and bring in some specific details that we can go through, which would help us understand if this is a credible presentation of. What do you
okay,
think about that?
yeah, I'll do that because I know, because I haven't done any research. I was just searched YouTube and typed your channel name, and that I
Yeah,
saw your thumbnail about Hinduism. So I thought, let's join. So,
absolutely.
uh, so, so it was,
We
yeah.
Yeah, you come across as a very friendly man, as is expected from most Indians. So,
Okay, okay, one last thing I just want to say.
sure.
Can I say? Okay. No, you show the translation because we live in India and we
Yeah,
have teachers of Sanskrit, teachers like that. So they
yeah,
tell that Sanskrit is something language which is very typical. I mean, I don't know what's typical means. It's very hard to understand. Only if you translate, I like, so there can be some errors. Like maybe the mountain you show us, maybe that's not the other mountain. That can be the other mountain. People are just mistaking. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying that if you read the shlokas and if you until you don't understand the Sanskrit, so that's the problem that can I as per my view that can arise if you're saying that it's a golden, maybe that is translated into gold, maybe like that. So
but
no, no,
do
no,
you?
I'm not challenging, see, I'm not
Yeah,
challenging you to just correct me. Maybe you are right, you know better, things better than me, so because I'm your also fan. So, but
yeah.
I'll do research. I'll try
Yes,
to take out some time to find out, and I'll be happy to talk to you again. So,
absolutely, Veer.
yeah,
Please take some more time, maybe next week, maybe the week after. In the meantime, for example, if you need to email, if you want
yeah,
to go through some details, that's most welcome too. It'll be lovely to pursue this conversation. But ultimately, I mean, if you can put yourself in the shoes of a person whose life and death, let's say, depends on whether this is true or not, sort of stuff, where let's pretend for example, if someone is accused of murdering someone, for example,
Okay.
how rigorous the analysis has to happen to see if that is true or not. That's how seriously let's take this, of course, in a friendly manner. We can do it in a
No, no,
step
I'll
by
take
step
that
manner.
seriously. I'll take that seriously because
Yeah, absolutely. Veer, it was lovely speaking to you today.
yes, same here, sir. Same here, and it's a great time that I to talk to you, sir.
Absolutely, Veer. So just so you know, it's every Thursday similar time. We
Yeah, I
started, of
know,
course,
sir. I know every Thursday. I know you're all scheduled.
yeah.
But today it
Cool.
was the time. Luckily, I just joined your on Thursday. That's why.
Absolutely. Lovely to see you, Veer. Thank you
Yeah.
very much
Thank you,
for
sir. Thank
joining.
you. Thank you, sir.
God's blessings, and we'll catch up later.
Same to sir.
Thank you. Bye bye. Bye. Hello, my lovely Tamil friend. How are you doing?
Yes, sir. I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, by God's grace, okay. And do I remember you right in saying that you're not actually based in India, you're based elsewhere? Is that right, or am I mistaken here?
No, no. I'm based in India. I'm
You are
based in
based in
India. I think
India.
last
Okay.
week I was supposed. Yeah, I was caught up with work. I couldn't. I joined the second half, which was the next portion of the discussion, and it was late. So you
Sure.
guys had an interesting discussion. So I didn't
Sure.
join. I think there was no option to join. I guess at that point of time. So yeah,
Wait, do you
that's
mean that was the atheism stream? Is that what you mean?
correct. Yeah, yeah. The
Okay.
first half Hinduism part, I was stuck with work. I came back post
Sure.
9:40 something IST, and it was already the next session.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
No problem. It's lovely to see you again. Has been a couple of weeks since we
Yes,
last
sir.
spoke. Would you like to
Yes, sir.
take this challenge up in relation to providing some evidence for giving an early date for Ramayana, if you think Ramayana has an early date?
Yeah, sure. That's an interesting topic. I like this discussion a lot because this is one of the things where I get to talk about India in general, though. So first, I would like to
Yeah,
establish few things. India or Indian religions or any Indian traditions or religions is not on the same level as any other countries and tradition. As in, what I'm trying to say is we have a different way how we approach things. We are, as the previous person claimed, oral tradition is pretty much common. At some point, Islam mentioned about oral tradition. I think Christianity also talks about somewhere oral tradition, and maybe Hinduism or any other religion for that matter. At some point, oral tradition would have been common. And when the written tradition came in, people started adapting to those things, and that also became common. But in India, as well as in Hinduism, not just Hinduism, Indians specifically, they had a different way of recording information. And this recently has been highlighted by several renowned, archaeologists, scientists, and other people, which is the way how we cascade information through stories, which is tradition, cultures, and stories. That's how we record information, right? And how it is shared across is a story has been shared from grandmother to grandson or granddaughter. It keeps going on father to son kind of thing, and that's how we carry our traditions. We have one of the largest. You would agree we have one of the largest traditions, not just language per se, but culture and other different diversities that we have here. All of them have been together for a very long time, and they've still retained their originality at some in some form. So that's the premise I want to put across, that we share our story by traditions, stories, and culture, and that's how we record our information. That's the primary way how we did it. We had the Gurukul system where the information is shared from teacher to student, and like how in Islam they have a madrasa system, but in Gurukul system we had the same thing. Again, that is something which has gone down. We don't have a lot of Gurukuls anymore. There was an interesting discussion. Someone mentioned this. You can pick up any Brahmin from Kanyakumari to Kashmir, and if you ask them to recite any Vedas, they would recite in the same tone, same way, when the same meter length would be followed. There would not be any difference in that. And the reason why there is no difference, and they've also tried an experiment where someone would stop in between, and another person have to correct them and pick up from there. And even by doing that, there would not be any changes, because the way they've been following it, again the oral tradition comes in. It's that it's been passed on from generations. So I've set two premises over here. One is the stories and the culture, other one is the oral tradition. Now coming back to Ramayana, I'm a big Hanuman devotee myself. I'm from Karnataka, and Hanuman is from Kishkinda, which is in Karnataka now, Hampi. So Yeah, I'm a big fan of Hanuman. And so the story goes as when is the acceptable time for Ramayana? Most people place it at 7,000 years. That's the number which everybody, almost everyone agrees at this point, right? 7,000 years is when Ramayana happened. And if you have to look at the actual description, in terms of when Rama was born, there is this statement which is made, which Rama was born at a specific date on a specific time, which is nothing but on 10th of January, 511, 5114 BC, which is the Indian calendar, based on Indian calendar, at 12 noon to 1 p.m. Shukla Paksh on Chaitra month. So why am I highlighting these things? Which is the date, the month, and the way we calculate months were pretty much planetary motions, right? And Indians take two things very seriously. One is planetary motions and planetary movements. Other one is bowel movements. We don't miss out on both those things. Like we're very serious about those things. Everything which we did was based on planetary movements and every information we captured. So over here, when this particular statement is made that Rama was born at this particular time, during this particular month, during this particular duration, they are talking about a planetary motion which took place. That's how it was recorded. And this pretty much falls at the same duration, which is 5114 BC. If they have to calculate that, if they have to go back and do the math, that's pretty much where it falls, is what most people claim. Now, I've made an argument 7,000 years is when Ramayana happened. To back that up, there is this famous, I think you also had this discussion last week, a week before that, the Ram Setu Bridge, or commonly Westerners call as Adam's Bridge. And this is an interesting topic because even Indians were not pretty sure if it is or it is not a man made, it is a man made. That confusion was going on for a long time. I think in 2019, yeah, I think 2019, the ASI, which is the Archaeological Survey of India, they reported the Ram Setu Bridge as a natural formation and not a man-made. That's what they claimed during that time. And this had, again, this went against the religious bit, because religious bit claims that this Ram Setu Bridge was built by uh, the Vanara army, especially Nala or Neel. They contributed towards building it, and both are again Vanaras, and they built it with stones which floated, and they built it with trees, logs, and other things. That's what they used to construct the Ram Setu Bridge. And 2020, in 2021, there was a report, an article in Times of India, a reputed Indian newspaper. They mentioned that the claim by ASI, which is the Archaeological Survey of India, they withdrew their affidavit in the Supreme Court, stating that this was a man-made, artificial structure. They withdrew that particular statement. So I investigated further. Why would someone, especially someone as ASI, which is a reputed organization, they are responsible for any report that comes out, right? Why would they withdraw it? And that's when I came across another report. So this happens to be in again somewhere in 2020 or 2021 is when this happened. The reason they withdrew their affidavit is because there was another US based Discovery Science channel which did the same survey, and they came to a conclusion that the rocks, sorry, the sediment which is found, the sand sediment which is found under the Ram Setu Bridge is around 4 million years, sorry, 4,000 years old, right? But Ramayana puts the number as 7,000 years old. But when they did the test on the rocks itself was around 7,000 years old. So what they claimed to be a natural formation was the sands that accumulated underneath the stone structures, which was supposed to be 4,000 years, but the rocks itself is 7,000 years. Now, going back to Ramayana, Ramayana does not claim that they built using sand or anything as such. They only mentioned rocks, wood, and rocks, logs, and other materials like twigs and grasses, right? So, based on what was mentioned in Ramayana, the same thing was reviewed by the Science Channel, US-based Science Channel, and I think the video is still on on YouTube. Though. There is a video where they make this claim that it's 7,000 years old. So that's the since that information came in 2021, ASI withdrew their report claiming that what they provided initially was incorrect. So two major institutions, which one is known for its archaeological study and one is known for a scientific study, both have mentioned this particular rock dates to 7,000 years, and this particular rock which is mentioned as a bridge which is mentioned which is mentioned in the Ramayana exist in the exact same spot described in Ramayana, and the formation also remains the same, which cannot be, again, if, even if you go with the argument, maybe the person wrote the book after checking the rocks, it cannot again still go back to the dates they mentioned it, because there's no way, if our modern science went back and forth to determine this number, there's no way someone thousands of years, let's just assume the what you mentioned was a right claim. The earliest document in terms of literature document we have is somewhere around the first or second century, a third century, somewhere over there is what we have. There's no question there. But that's not a manuscript or original manuscript. That is the earliest we have. And if we have to go back, even if someone is from the second or third century, there is no way they could have done the archaeological or the carbon dating survey to identify that is 7,000 years old, which they claim in their own book. So that cannot be the same. So the fact that they were able to make a statement, and the statement is now backed up by science and archaeological studies, pretty much ties to that particular date, and that's the only date which we have which sticks to that particular story. Until unless we have a different date or a different study, the existing one sticks. That's pretty much the basic rule. Until someone disproves something, this one sticks. As of now, it's not been disproved. The age of the Ram Setu bridge remains 7,000 years old, and hence the Ramayana, which is placed, also falls under 7,000 years old. Technically, 7,133 years is what most people would put it, but yeah, roughly around that period.
Lovely. Thank you. Thank you very much for your presentation there. I mean,
Thank you.
yeah, lovely. At least you were able to present a coherent argument. I see your broad argument. Now, of course, I'm not saying I agree with it, but I see your broad argument. So your essential point is, hey, you have a date for Ramayana from internal evidence, suggesting when Rama was born, and then you have this Ram Setu bridge being dated to similar time, and therefore that matches up, and therefore this is the tenable position. This is the position based on evidence. Until we find contra evidence, this is what we go with, is the broad outline of your argument there. And of course you brought in who dated what and that sort of stuff there. Now cool. So there are multiple sides to this. Just before I jump to the actual questions, I'd really like to ask my dear friend. Of course, you go by just display name as your name, so I'm struggling to you don't want your first name. I'll just call you my friend. Maybe we said Nanban or something. Last time I can't
Nanban,
remember.
yeah, Nanban was.
That's yeah. Cool. But before I comment on anything else or ask questions on any of these things, let me be clear. I did not mean that we have manuscriptal evidence going as far as back as first century BC or second century BC. No, manuscriptal evidence is much later, much later in terms of manuscripts. But what I meant was I have a cutoff based on some other crucial historical records, which I don't want to bring up today. At some stage later, I'd really like to bring this up. Now, let's go through this rather step by step, my friend here. So, in terms of the reference in Ramayana for a date for Ram's birth, where is that? Where do you get the idea from?
So this actually is in the Ramayana. I actually ate chicken today. I did not pull up my Ramayana book, but I got my Amiganatara's summary of Ramayana, and we're just looking at that particular book as reference. So in the book of the actual Valmiki's Ramayana, which I have the Goldman translation, the universe, as in the Western recognized one, Goldman translation, which has the more detailed ones. In the Amigantara's one, it mentioned about the square kilometers of the area where Ramayana was, where Ayodhya was. It mentioned about that. But if you're looking at the actual, like, which part of north you wanted, I'll just pull up the map over here, which would be somewhere. Yeah. So Ayodhya is somewhere.
I'm looking for the time. When you say you gave a date of around 7,000 years before now, Where do you get that date from?
Oh, that's the number derived by most modern scholars at this point, though. So they pulled up this numbers dating to the information mentioned in Ramayana, which is Sukla Paksh and Chaitra month. So the last time these planetary motions were aligned would be around 5123 BC.
Which planets are these planets?
So in terms of when this is a tradition which you would be aware of in India. When someone is born, they write their the planetary motions, right? So when someone is born, they actually make the calculation. How they write that is based on the what the planet alignment is at that point of time. Correct? You would have heard about these things. I don't know if you are born Hindu and then moved to Christianity, or
No, no,
you would have.
I've heard of the zodiac sign based.
Correct. That's
Yeah,
done at the birth. So every time someone's born, they make that chart for that particular person who's born. And the same chart this is something which has been followed traditionally from the beginning till now. Where someone is born, the chart is written. And when Lord Rama was born, what's mentioned in Ramayana is he was born in an Indian calendar, which is on the between 12 to 1 p.m. Sukla Paksh and Chaitra month.
yeah.
And
So
when people
I'd
of
like to.
modern, sorry, go
I'd
ahead.
like I'd like the details there, my friend. I'd really like to the details there as to how you arrived at the conclusion of a particular year. I'm not so much focused on the time per se, but I'm focused on the the year, or roughly even the century, where you got the idea from. Because bear in mind today, so someone can read the text and say, actually, this is 7,000 BC or 10,000 BC. They can, they can make things up very easily. So I'm really trying to understand what scientific basis you have to suggest that Ramayana internally claims that date. I'd really like to find that out.
Ramayana doesn't claim the date. Ramayana claims the time, the planetary motions. The date is
Yeah,
being added by the modern interpreters who,
absolutely.
scholars who looked into that. So they
Yeah.
came to the conclusion based on doing the planetary alignment. So there are two peoples I could name. One is Dr. Raj Vedam, a reputed historian, scientist who's does very deep studies in terms of Indian history and literature and all those things. Dr. Raj Vedam, and there's also a foreigner, Indian descent. Doctor, his name is Nilesh Oak. So he has an Indian citizenship, Canadian as well as U.S. citizenship, and there are several more people, but these two specifically they do research on planetary motion, genealogy, and all those things. And
My
I'm
dear
not sure
friend,
which one made
l-
this claim.
please,
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
please, and names don't matter. Please, can I please suggest, because you're so firmly, convinced by this theory that you are suggesting, I'd really like for you to double check with your own calculations. Please go through whatever information they present. Ultimately, the names don't matter. Names of people don't matter. But if there are quote unquote scholars who can provide details, the details matter. The details are interesting. Can I
I
please
agree with.
suggest to you?
Sure, sorry to interrupt. I agree with the second part, but the names do matter because, say, if you take, for example, Christianity, you refer to, Matthew, Dave, or Luke. Those names do matter. You wouldn't consider, since Luke is nobody, we don't have to take his word for it. That's not how Christianity works as well. Same thing would go to Islam as well. Names do matter, and for example, if you talk about the hadiths as well, if people say who's the scholar who validates them, also comes into picture. Same way, these are modern archaeologists and scientists who do research on these things. They study planetary motions and genealogy, something that they do. So their credentials do matter.
No, no. Let me be clear. This is a well-established fallacy in logical reasoning. I'll give you a simple example. There are various fields of research these days where, if you take some of the major fields of research, there will
Mhm.
be scholars who affirm contra views. You'll have scholar A saying this view is right, scholar B saying this view is right. If you
Okay.
go with, both are reputable scholars, both sides have reputable
Mhm.
scholars. Just because a scholar says, if we think it is true, just going by their reputation, the problem is most things in this world will not make sense. என்னடா சொல்லுங்க? Okay, nice. Sorry, my daughter.
Alright.
Most things will not make sense. So it's a well-established logical fallacy, which is scholars don't matter, and no Christian who knows how to make a logical argument would ever claim, "Hey, Luke says, and therefore," that won't be the full claim at all. I know Muslims would do something similar, but go by names. But Christians who know how to present a logical argument will not do that. And so, please, what I need is, my friend, if you don't have it today, that's fine. If, for example, next week, if you're able to bring the details up, both the text from, the Ramayana text, the quotation, and some details as to what planets are being spoken of, and what their names are in our planetary observations, in our knowledge of astronomy, and where they are, how to trace their paths, and so on. I'd really like for us to do some critical analysis, because I can very gladly, I'd very much insist, my dear friend, there are plenty of people even today who just stand up and say, "Hey, this is true. Just go by what I'm saying." And I'm talking about, Sanskrit, scholars and whatever else. And so, for you and for me, we need details. If we don't have details, we can't be convinced. If you don't have
Okay,
detail
I
today,
agree with
that's
the
fine.
I agree with the statement you made. People make claims, but who make claims, it matters a lot. So when you say that there might be two different points which could argue on different sides. At this point, there is no counter argument to that particular claim, and I do
No,
not have the. Can you name one person who has counter argument for one reputed historian who has a counter argument for this particular claim?
I don't even want to get in here, because I don't even want to engage in a fallacious argument there. Please,
It's
it
not
does
fallacious.
not
It's only
matter.
fallacious. See, I would completely disagree with that part of argument. I understand that you don't agree with it, which I completely agree with that, because not everyone would agree with all the statements I make or you make, for example, right? But I wouldn't call it fallacious argument because of that one fact that we are on the opposite sides. This argument is a valid argument
No,
because
no,
I've
no.
given you
That's not my
reputed.
point. That is not the point. That is not the point. The point, very simply, is evidence relates to details. Evidence doesn't relate to a person who claims something. If I, for example, we see court cases that happen every single week in various nations. If you just go by people who are claiming things, then you'd never get to know if someone murdered someone, if someone stole something, because there are always two sides, three sides, four sides, giving different accounts. And this is where details matter. With details, we can establish what is true and what is not true. So I don't even want to encourage that. No, names don't matter. Names can matter if names have reputation, and based on the reputation, we can really, instead of looking up various other people, we know these guys have reputation, therefore we can go to their resources and get the details fairly quickly. To that extent, names can help us.
And the
But
people I mentioned are those people. Dr.
but
Raj
the
Vedant is
names
one of
ultimately don't matter. For the actual argument, the fundamental details are what matters.
okay.
So please, I don't want
I
to argue
agree
about
on that.
this. Yeah, I don't want
Okay,
to
I agree
argue
on
about
that.
this anymore. I just want to suggest to you, if you don't have it today, that's fine. Please, next time, or at some stage, if you can bring the details of what text you're using, what details are there in the text, and what those details correspond to outside of the text, and what do we know about those planets from our own scientific awareness, knowledge, and what reasoning you are using based on those things to ultimately arrive at the conclusion of the particular date. I need these details, please.
Sure,
Yes.
for your satisfaction, definitely I'll do that.
It's
Uh,
not for my satisfaction, it's for basic progress. If you have
okay,
progress without these details, I'd really like to suggest that's blind belief. We don't want to do that. We want to
it's
have
going to be a very
details.
long conversation. Sorry, go ahead.
We want to make sure our life's decisions, crucial decisions, are based on proper reasoning. um, I don't, if you think, it's a long, it's a great level of detail that we need to get into to come to the conclusions, that's fine. What I can suggest is, if you email me the details, we can maybe process these details. If you send me over email, we can process the details and then come up with a succinct sort of evaluation for the actual stream. I know we have sort of already run out of the time, but can I please suggest this, my friend? Now, let me also ask a few other things. So we need details for how you arrived at the date for the birth of Ram according to the text. Number one.
Once again, let
And
me
number,
make note of it though. I don't want to forget it. One
sure,
second, if you
sure,
don't mind.
absolutely, no problem,
Because I intend to follow up. So let me just quickly get my pen and
no
paper.
problem at all, no problem at all.
Yes, sir. I'm back.
Sure. So the reasoning behind the date based on the text, we need that. And number two, the reasoning behind essentially claiming I need the details behind this Ram Setu bridge. I'd really like to explore that.
Details as in, like, what kind of details are we looking at?
The essentially the dates of the, you're talking about rock formation, rock at the top, sand at the bottom. I'd really like to get to the bottom of this, pardon the pun, but bottom of this, in terms of understanding which rocks we're talking about, which sand we're talking about, and what report are we talking about, and how did we arrive at the conclusion this was actually man-made, and also what was the dating methodology used to arrive at the dates for both the rock layer and the sand layer. All of these details
Okay,
matter.
hold on. Now, this is interesting. Okay, you're asking for things which you know for a fact no one can produce. The reason because I wouldn't have the methodology used by the archaeological team. What methodology used to date something, and if I apply the same logic, you wouldn't be able to produce any information of your scriptures as well. If you put the same logic to it. If I ask you what paper was used in the original, but how was the thickness? What was the thickness of the paper? You couldn't answer the question. The same
I
way,
think
your questions you're asking me is again that's where I would say that the intent itself is bound to failure because I can't provide those details, and we all know because we don't have access to those details. It's not common knowledge. So that itself
sure.
is
let, let me respond in this manner. That's not true. That's not true. With Christianity, my dear friend, you're most welcome to join on a Friday. With Christianity, I'm able to give you sufficient details on the raw material that is used to construct the historical case for the Christian view. I'm able to. So you're most welcome to join and inquire. You can, you don't have to know the entire subject area. You can start small, ask a few questions that you might have at the surface level first, and then we can dwell into more details later. But Christianity is firmly grounded in terms of the fundamental reasoning, in terms of establishing the historicity. Christianity is firmly rooted in history. That's my challenge and my suggestion. You're most welcome to explore that on a Friday we get into that sort of detail. Tomorrow, Christianity under scrutiny. That's tomorrow. Now, but coming back to your comment on the dating of Ram Setu bridge, note carefully. It's either one or the other. Either we can have confidence or we can't have confidence. We are really relying only upon someone else saying something and we don't have details. It's one of those two situations.
Again, see, again
Thankfully,
over here the same problem though. I'm talking about the Archaeological Survey of India. You cannot say the names don't matter over here because this is an institution which is accredited to do the thing which they're doing though. It's like you can't look at a doctor and say you're not qualified to be a doctor. The position itself is a doctor. And ASI, which is
interesting, my friend. I'm not sure if you're aware of this. ASI's research material are regularly published. They are published and they're supposed to be in public libraries. The ASI has many libraries across India where they are supposed to have their research material published and documented and be accessible. This is from ASI perspective. Now most of many of their material are also digitized and they are available online. You can access that as per
So if
your
I give
specific
you
requirement.
the institutions who did this, would that not be sufficient? The institutions who were involved in this, would that not be
No,
sufficient? Would you need
no,
the report
anyone can
itself?
attribute. Anyone can say that an institution did something. Whoa, anyone can say this. Today I can sit here and
How
say,
would
hey, NASA suddenly produced a report on something that I have in mind, and they actually support my view and that sort of stuff. Anyone can attribute something to an institution.
I agree?
What we are
But
looking
what if
for?
the institution itself claims it? What if the institution claims it? Would
Yeah,
that
this is
prove it
where.
false?
Yeah, you are very right. And that is the kind of information I'm talking about. If you think NASA has done research, interestingly, NASA also produces public literature. None of these institutes, similar to ASI in India, externally they produce, and it's for public perusal. This is not secret research that they do and they don't make it available. It's actually their research is published. And so my point
I
simply
agree.
would
So this
be,
is my statement though. If the institution who did the research, they make this claim that this is the duration I mentioned, and they have the report as not a report. They made a video about it from their own institution, and that video is available under their own name. Would that be sufficient enough?
it'll be a good
Because
start.
that
If there is a video by NASA, it'll be a good start. But
not
we need
NASA,
to
it's
trace from there.
SCI. SCI is the institution which did it though. SCI
What
Science
is this?
Channel, US based science channel. Let me see if I can get
Are
that
you talking
for
about
here quickly.
television? Are
One
you
second.
talking about a television channel right now?
No, it's a YouTube channel. They do science researchers though.
Even television channels, they're there for what's the term, as much as of course they'd like to produce something which is true content, which is true. They'd even go for juicy content. If it is juicy, they need not get to the bottom of truth. I personally know of a few sort of producers in very well reputable, even long running television channels, internationally reputable. I know, speaking to them and so on, that they'd
I
like to
agree,
get
but
to the
you're
bottom of the truth, but they're not necessarily producing research material that we can produce and depend on. That's not the
correct.
intent.
But you're
Juicy
correlating.
content.
But you're correlating. Sorry, you're correlating between an institute. A TV channel, news channel, which is in for the TRP versus another institution which is only into educational studies. They cannot be correlated equally, though. Just because one
Sure.
again, we're talking about speculations without any proof whatsoever. Like this particular institution did this, so this should also be. Again, this is an argument which does not
Abs-
transcend to another.
I
Right?
didn't actually make
So
any argument. I really didn't make any argument. My point ultimately is, again, names don't matter, is my point. My point ultimately is
my point is
the
names do matter.
details. You can please speak to a number of let's say philosophers, people who deal with logical analysis, historians, and people of the likes of what I am mentioning, and ask them, can you trust something just because a person says so, in relation to things of the past for which he is not a direct source of information? Please
Okay,
ask.
can I have a
And
small
I'm
exercise if you don't mind? Can I ask you a small
sure.
exercise if you don't mind? So, do you know when Pluto was removed from the solar system?
In terms of the claim of Pluto being a planet.
Yeah, it's this according to modern science, it's been removed as a planet. It's no longer a planet; it's a dwarf planet. Correct?
Yeah, yeah.
You know which year this happened and
I,
who
I, I
removed?
don't know off the top of my head, no.
Okay. So, do you agree that Pluto is a planet or is it a dwarf planet?
It seems like it's an area of contention even today, but people seem to
But,
heavily
correct.
people
But
seem to
what
heavily
proof?
side on the fact of claiming it's not a planet anymore.
Where is your
As
stance in this case, though? Where do you take a stand?
I haven't studied this personally, so I really can't comment.
So, if assuming that your kid or someone has asked you this question, how many planets do we have in the solar
Yeah, your
system?
voice is breaking. Please come again. In case what?
If someone asks you a question, if your kid or someone asks you the question, like, how many planets do we have in the solar system? How would you respond to that question?
Well, I'd say exactly what I said right now. I mean, it used to be 9, now it seems to be 8, but I haven't personally done my research, so I don't have any comments.
Okay, so over here, your stance is going to be in your case. you'll be going back to 8 over here. You'll say it's 8, but you still haven't done a research. That's what you'll say. But your answer will still be 8, correct?
No, my
So you
point
would say it was
was
9.
it used to be 9. Now people are saying it is 8, but even now there seems to be contention. I haven't done my research, and so
So
I don't have an answer.
how would you approach with your research? Would you be doing telescope, use a telescope to do research in
I don't
Pluto,
have
or would
to.
you study the
No, no, no.
materials?
That's
How
not what
would
I'm
you approach?
talking about. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm rather talking about is looking at the commentary given, looking at the details provided on
Of
either side of the argument, and looking at the details given on the conclusions. That different people have arrived at
of
based on the details
people of people,
of people. Of course, yeah.
and
Ultimately,
those names matter apparently now, right?
you are
People
conflating
who
two
made
different things. No, 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 no.
not really.
Please,
See,
please.
you are
One second. No, no.
approaching
Please,
Hinduism as a religion.
please, 1 second. Please. This is a fundamental mistake. Please. Ultimately, we are dependent on people. If that's your point, don't make a. This is a silly mistake. This is like a silly mistake in a philosophy exam. Of course, ultimately, we are dependent on people, artifacts that people have produced, whether
But if
it's
you can
historical
choose when to
artifact,
accept, when not
archaeological
to accept.
artifact, all of these. So ultimately, it's all man-made data points that we are looking at. But my
So how
point
would you
is, I
draw a
can't just go
conclusion
with
which
the
one is right, which one
name
is wrong?
for credibility. I need to go with the actual evidence. It
Okay,
doesn't
and
mean the evidence is not provided by someone who has a name. You're conflating them both. Please don't.
okay, I'll agree to your argument. Let me just say that, okay, the reason why they chose is because the mass of the planet Pluto did not amount to the same as any other planet. So what evidence would you look into in this case to determine why Pluto should be a planet or shouldn't be a planet? What evidence would you look into? Since you're into evidence and not the person who's giving you the answer, what method or limitations you would have to categorize into Pluto as a planet or not a planet?
I'd essentially look at the very definition of what a planet is. I'd look at the definition of the research
And
produced
that
on
comes from,
Pluto. It comes from human beings, but you're conflating two different points again. The point
not
isn't
really.
that,
So if I may,
my
not really.
friend.
What happens is your argument is simple though. The data comes from people. People do research and they obtain data. And how do they obtain data? By doing the research, by checking information. In the end, we have to go back to like a circular argument. We state that one comes from two, and the reason two is right because two has done research on one. And the same logic applies everywhere. If you agree, so the person who, it was IAU, which is International Astronomical Union, which is the institution which kicked out Pluto, and the person who was involved was Neil deGrasse Tyson, a famous astrophysicist, by the way. He's reputed for his extraordinary speech pattern as well as his knowledge, right? And if this person makes a claim, he has a reputation of who he is. So if Neil deGrasse Tyson says something and it comes from IAU, it is respected and accepted worldwide, unless not it's proved otherwise. Now the question is, I need data. Yes, you can have your data, but unless not it's proved otherwise, the existing operation would remain the same, which means the modus operandi would remain the same. Currently,
My,
there is
my
only
dear
eight
friend,
planets.
my dear friend, you're really venturing into an area where, in my view, if you were in my philosophy class, you'll be out by now. With all friendliness, please let me say this to you.
I agree, but
Very
why would I take a
simply,
philosophy class?
what's that?
Because if I have to take a philosophy class, I'll have to go by what? That you are a good teacher of philosophy, correct? Where do I get the information from? We're going back to circular argument again, because
It
that's
is
end of the day,
not.
that's how it comes
You
in.
do not, my dear friend, please. I don't know what your experience with logical arguments is. I don't think you understand what a circular argument is. Please don't get there. I can deal with that on a different occasion. Can I please suggest this to you? Can you please email me, and we can take it from there. Your argument, unfortunately, unfortunately we don't have much time for me to unpack. My point very simply is, I am not saying anything that a human being says I can't use. That's not my point. In which case, if that is what I'm saying, I won't even be speaking about Ramayana today. I won't even be speaking about, because it's written by human beings. That's not the point. The point rather is, for example, someone may claim, hey, Ramayana is 5,000 years old, and his name might be some huge name. Name doesn't matter to me. I'd ask him, what is your reasoning? And he may say, hey, my reasoning is I have manuscripts of Ramayana from around 4800 BC, and I sort of logically project that back to a couple of hundred years before that. That's my date. That is fair enough. He's providing evidence.
It's not. For me, I'll tell you why it's not. Because now your
Sure, I
argument
don't
is
want to
based
argue about
on.
this. Please, I
No,
really don't
I'll
want
have
to
to
argue
this,
about this.
this I'll have to make
I,
this claim. No, sorry, but I just have to make this claim because your argument currently stems from one point, is Abrahamic point of view. Just because your religion has something in a certain standard, you cannot apply the same logic to everyone else.
this is absolute
That's why,
gibberish. Please, please,
which
please.
is why, which
I
is why I
need to stop.
established.
Please, 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 please. I need to stop you there. Please, let me put it this way to you. Today, if you get a loan from a bank, if they need sort of surety for the loan, what would they ask for?
Property, wealth, etc.
Would they just go with your claim, or would they need some evidence?
But I still don't see a point.
My
What is
point is this claim that evidence-based approach is of Abrahamic religions is absolute nonsense.
it is
I
the
don't, I
framework.
don't,
The
please, I
framework you're
really
applying
don't want to,
is
please,
nonsensical when applies to over here.
please, I really don't want to dwell into this. I have a few other people waiting. What I'm suggesting is, please, my dear friend, you should just go back. You don't even have to consider the history of our land post the British coming in. You don't even have to consider that. Pre-British coming in, go back to cultures and practices. I can show you evidence of an evidential approach to life going far, far early in our land. Don't ever claim this point which you're making right now, which would, please don't, please don't. Evidence-based approach to life is a very integral part of, in my awareness, human existence from all sorts of civilizations across the world, including the one we have in India. Yeah, I don't know if you're aware. In Indus Valley civilization, I don't know if you're aware. Some of the earliest artifacts in the Indus Valley civilization are seals. Are you aware of this?
No, I'm not.
Seals form a huge.
Technically, we call it Sindhu Saraswati civilization. That's again an old
Technically, what?
term. We call it Sindhu Saraswati civilization. We don't call it Indian Indus Valley civilization. That's again a Western term which has been again changed.
My dear friend, Saraswati. Okay, we'll come to this later, please. I
The
don't want
term
to
is
do.
Sindhu Saraswati, which is as per
Please,
the modern archaeology.
please. I don't want to go with. This is not politics for me. For
It's not
me,
politics. It's fact. You're talking about archaeology.
you're not
So
letting me
I'm not
finish.
talking about.
Please, please,
No, no.
please.
You made a claim.
It's not.
It's not
Please,
politics.
Indus, please. Indus River exists today. Saraswati River doesn't exist today. I'd really like to stick with non-political, evidence-based approach to what we are saying, not political statements. Political statements, I can't go with,
Again,
please.
you're making
Can
a
I
claim
please?
which is wrong. First and foremost, this is not a political statement. First of all, there is no Indus River. It was actually Sindhu, which the name could be pronounced become Indu, and then become Indus. So the entire name is given is all wrong. And you're referring. That's what I said.
What is wrong about the name?
So it was never Indus. There was no river called Indus when it was initially done. So it was actually Sindhu was the river.
In what language?
The ancient place in India was actually called Sindh. The people
In what
Persians named
language?
it.
In what
Sindh.
language?
It's all. I think it was the language in north as well as south. The same thing. India
Which
was called.
language?
You have it in Sanskrit pretty much. Sanskritam, you have that mention of Sindhu,
I
not as Indus.
my mother tongue is in Sanskrit. So what do we do from here?
So that's again bad argument. Just because your mother tongue isn't Sanskrit doesn't mean the entire other literature has been thrown out now.
No, that's not the point I made. I made a simple point. I made my simple point.
In your mother tongue, show me a scripture which says Indus civilization or Indus mentioned in any of those things.
That's not the point I'm trying to make.
Your
Please
mother
don't.
tongue should have that answer.
My dear friend, please. I'm really not interested in this particular debate right now.
You're not interested in any of the debates at this point because after a
That's a
certain
nice
point,
claim.
you're
Look,
rebuking all
please, I'm trying to be friendly. Please, we had a topic at hand.
So am I.
Please. Okay, fine. You do your stuff. Thank you very much. I don't know what mindset you have. You're a guest here. I'm really trying to have a friendly conversation. I have a particular topic in mind. I'd really like you to stick to the topic at hand. and we want to go through evidence. Now, if you
Okay.
suggest there is a better way of establishing that Ramayana is very old, by all means. But the point is, so far, you gave me many claims. I asked you for simple details, and you're already struggling. This is what I see, but I still don't mind.
I'm not.
I want you.
No, I'm
I
not
want
struggling.
you. I
First,
want you. Please,
you're
I
misrepresenting
want you
me,
to
which is
take
not
your
right.
time.
No,
Sorry, what's
this
that?
is wrong. See, you're misrepresenting me over here. First is that I haven't been aggressive or I haven't been doing anything, right? So I have been friendly too. Correct? We agree on that? Yes.
Sorry, 1 second. Just one second, please. Sorry,
Yeah,
my
sure, no
daughter
problem.
is a bit distracting. Just one. Goodly, sorry. Sorry, what were you asking? Please come again.
So yeah, for when you mentioned that you have been very friendly, so it kind of sounds like I am not friendly. I have been respectful and I've been
No,
polite
no,
the whole
I
time.
didn't say you weren't. I didn't say you were not
But
friendly.
that's how it
No,
implies. No, but when you say I'm trying to be respectful, I'm trying to be nice to a guest, which implies that I am not.
no.
That's how
What
I'm
it
taking it.
implies? No. The context is very simple. We have a topic at hand. I'm trying to be friendly. I don't want to, strictly impose. I'm just suggesting we have gone far away from the topic. That's all I meant. I didn't, when I said I'm
Okay.
trying to be friendly, what I meant was I'm trying to, in a friendly manner, ask us to come back to the topic as opposed to not being friendly. That's what I implied. I didn't imply
I
that
agree.
you're being
Sure.
unfriendly and so on. Please, I do apologize. Can I please
No
suggest this?
problem.
You're a
It's
lovely
very
man.
sincere.
You're a lovely man. I enjoyed speaking to you the previous time also, and this time too. Can I please suggest to you? Of course, we have gone far beyond the time that we allotted. Can I please suggest to you, if you want to email, because you said it's a long argument in terms of details from Ramayana, the internal evidence,
The
and that sort of stuff.
the
Yeah,
planetary motions. Yeah.
please, can I please ask you to email, and then from there we can for example, next stream we can take from there and go with the succinct sort of evaluation. Is that fair enough? Do you
Yeah, I
mind?
don't. If you could share
Yeah,
me your email, I can.
sure. Let me bring up my email address here. So let me type that in here too. So I have typed this in the private chat also, and it should show up in the on the screen right now. Please, I do apologize if there had been a little bit of heat. That's not the intent. You are a lovely man, and I'd really like to pursue this conversation, but I really need more details. That's my only request.
Yeah, a
But
little
I'd
bit of
want to go
speakers
back
corner
to
Arul
the.
came out though.
Come again, please.
A little bit of speakers corner Arul came out though. So there's two different versions of you, right? One is speakers corner, it's a more the eyebrow raising one, and the one over here is the less eyebrow raising one. I currently noticed the eyebrow raising one. Speakers corner style. Yeah.
Possibly. Possibly, I do sincerely apologize. I don't intend for
That's all right. Yeah.
the online conversation to be the eyebrow raising one, if that is true. But what I really, but we still need the substance. That's my request, please. Yeah. Cool.
Okay. So
Lovely
yeah.
friend. Can we? Do you have my
Yeah. Sure.
email
Thank
address
you.
there? Yeah, and
Yeah,
we'll
I'm just
take it
making
from
note
there,
of it.
please.
Okay. Yeah.
Cool. Let me
Thank you once
move
again.
to the. Yeah. Thank you very much, and we'll catch up later. God's blessings. Speak to you
Yes, sir.
later.
Yep.
Bye
See
bye
you
bye.
tomorrow then. Yeah. Thanks. Bye.
Next yeah, please email, and we'll follow up via email before through God's grace next Thursday.
Okay. Sure.
Oh no, so you want to jump on the stream tomorrow also? Absolutely, most welcome. Sorry, I forgot that briefly.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I'm surrounded. I have
Cool,
a lot
thank
of
you very much.
Christians around me, so I'll come tomorrow as well, though.
Absolutely, lovely.
Yep.
Lovely to
Thank you. Take care.
speak today, and we'll look forward to speaking later. Thank you very much. Bye bye bye.
Yes, sir. You too.
Yeah, bye bye bye. Jawad, you are on stage right now. How are you doing? Hello.
Am I audible? Am I audible now?
Right now, Jawad, are you the same one who spoke to me last week
Yeah.
also?
Yes. It's me. Now, how are you
Love,
doing?
by God's grace, doing well. But last week you jumped on a different stream, didn't you?
Eh,
Sort of, early Indian morning or something.
Yeah. I did. I was like, I was
Um,
interested in this topic as well. So I was like, it's amazing to join. And the previous speaker, oh my God, I'm just like blindsided at this point. I don't know if I know enough to speak anymore because the points he has placed is just too much to compete with anymore. So like, that's the reason I was like, it's nice environment to join and learn new things, the things that I don't know about home culture and stuff. So that's
yeah,
fine.
absolutely. So, yeah, the arguments that our dear friend who was here earlier, he presented. I need meat. I need meat. Absolutely, thank you. Absolutely, thank. The gentleman is still there on the chat. So lovely to speak to you earlier, my dear friend. And yeah, anyway, so he gave the broad structure of the argument.
Yes.
Now we need more meat, more substance, more details to chew on,
Yes.
so we can pursue from there.
Uh,
Um,
I want to go more onto the factor where this thing comes in the topic where you claimed about the fact let's say multiple religions. Let's not just focus on Hinduism, though it is the main topic right now. But I would like to like bring light towards the fact where a lot of religions are based on this, right? We are based on manuscripts, we are based on research, we are based on word, word of mouth and stuff. Even Christianity itself, a lot of practices in Christianity come from that. Uh, all of these things, in essence, right? I assume you're Orthodox, if you do not mind me asking. Are you Orthodox?
I'm a Bible believing Christian. Just 1 second, please. Kuti,
All right.
sweetie. Sorry. Yeah, just 1 second. Sorry.
No, no, it's all right. She's adorable. It's okay.
Apologies, this stream is particularly challenging because it's early in the day for us. It's early
Yeah.
late afternoon or early evening, which means my children are still, my older one is still roaming around, and she's dropping food all over the place, and she wants to pick that up and eat again and that sort of stuff. So it's a bit challenging. At
Children
least the other
children are
streams,
blessings.
at least the other
Yeah.
streams, it's a bit later, and therefore they're already
Mhm.
in bed and so on. So my sincere apologies. Now coming back, Jawad. So what were you saying? So we depend on the different kinds of stuff like this, and then please,
Yeah, manuscripts, and you have research
yeah,
that are done. And usually the research that we do in religion is not just to like get on to the cultural part. We believe that I hope you agree on the fact that we learn from history, right? We learn on the basis of history and facts, and a lot of origins that we go into research, because I myself do a lot of research and stuff. So a lot of research that we go into is from basis on already present historic text, or else already present his research done by previous researchers who did not have the utilities or tools that we have right now. All right. So when we look at it that way, there's a lot of things that, though you may not believe in, that religion, but you can agree on the historic events being existing, like that has happened. Because, then you can also, do you agree with that? Like the basis of historic events happening?
um, uh, uh, depends on what you mean. So let me.
Okay.
I want to differentiate between two things here. I want to differentiate between the original source
Mhm.
material source
Yes.
material, for instance, Ramayana, Mahabharata, or stuff like
Hmm.
that, or the text, Buddhist texts, or Jain texts, and whatever else, source material.
Hmm.
And I want that's different from modern day commentators, scholarly commentators commenting about the text. My
Hmm.
point is the original source material gives historicity. So, for example,
Hmm.
if you have, let's say, a manuscript of Ramayana from, let's say, 5000 BCV, somehow are able to establish that that particular manuscript comes from 5000 BC, then I am quite happy to say, hey, this particular story, whether it is true or whether it was fact or fiction, is a different question still. But at least
Hmm.
the story seems to have existed, whether fact or fiction, latest 5000 BC. It may even predate
Hmm.
before that, but latest 5000 BC, because that particular manuscript helped us go as far back as that. Now, so in other words,
Right.
I'm willing to, based on the original historic material, I'm willing to
Hmm.
go, but not based on commentators commenting today. By today,
No,
I
no,
mean
I'm
in the
not
last
speaking
couple
on
of
that as
years.
well. because I do not
Sure.
find those things accountable. Because I'm a very strict believer of having exact text to text information and dating that thing back to who has said it and if that person's relevance matters or not. Because you can just
Absolutely.
claim things and it might not be true, right? Do you agree with that, right?
Absolutely.
So like you can just
Absolutely.
go ahead and say things like, oh, I was a great historian back then, and people will just, if you make 1,000 people believe that, it tends to become a complete belief factor. So we cannot do something
Absolutely.
like that. But when it comes to research, right, like when, like again, same argument comes at that. When we are doing something like that, it is very strict tracking back. And the points that I was going to place, the previous speaker already took them. And I love that because I don't think there's any other way to present it the way he has presented it. But yeah, it goes back to the research that have been done on the bridge and the way it has been dated back. And these things are done by scientific researchers in present day. And science cannot be denied. I'm a strong believer of science. And I strongly believe how this study should be accepted at least. When we're claiming that, do you believe in the existence of the war Ramayana has talked about? Ramayana?
The
Do you
what
believe in that
existence?
war?
What the
The
war?
wars like Mahabharata and yeah. Do you believe in its
Uh,
existence?
Ramayana and Mahabharata are distinct literature. Are you talking about Mahabharata's wars, right?
Yeah.
War right now. I don't
Anyone? Do
at
you
all.
believe in?
I don't consider Ramayana to be historical. I don't consider Mahabharata to be historical. But so far, I haven't presented my case for them. But I don't. Ultimately, when I do present my case, I'll give evidence to essentially present the idea that these two are relatively late literature, and they clearly aren't historical. They are meant to be sort of moral literature, dharmic literature. But I haven't presented my case for that so far. Not historical is my for a simple answer to your
All right.
question. So far.
So I think that's your point, right? So are you familiar with Kurukshetra and Mahabharata?
Yep.
And are you familiar with the research done on that factorial war specifically?
Oh,
And the dating back of how the book presents present time, floating rocks in the river. I think the four tusked elephants. Now you can say there's a lot of argument about such things and such claims that, oh, what if they did exist and some people just wrote it in a book? But that completely does not deny the fact that people are looking at things around them and noting it down. Even present day history can be completely denied in future, considering, let's say, we have wars, which Russia and Ukraine had a war. People can just deny the existence of the war because it was recorded by corrupt newspaper channels and stuff. So there's no proper dating back to it. But back then, the biggest source of knowledge and things like these were manuscripts and word of mouth. Do you agree?
I don't agree with the claim that word of mouth was the basic mode of transmission at that time. I have contra evidence to that, but so far I am not making any claim. So far, I'm merely exploring the claims of others. I don't believe in the Indian subcontinent. I don't believe in the claim that word of mouth was the initial mode of communication. I don't at all. I really don't at all.
But what
I have
about the
contra
claims
evidence.
that yeah, what about the claims about the ancient cities that have been mentioned in these books and texts?
I don't find. I
Do you
don't
deny them
find.
too? But
It's
then also there's backing
it's
to it and research to that, right? So like
I
what
don't I
exactly
don't
is
I
it when
don't
you
find I
uh,
don't find compelling research. I don't find compelling research by a huge margin. I don't find
mhm.
research
Do you
backing
believe
up
in NASA?
the
Do you believe in research done by NASA? Do you believe in that, or is it out of the question right now?
what research.
Research that are done on archaeological remains of Ayodhya, right? Ayod- yeah,
So
Ayodhya.
what archaeological research you have in mind that NASA has done?
Uh, Basically, they have discovered artifacts and also the pre-sediments that are left from the city that was originally there that has been submerged, as mentioned in the book itself. And also that these things have been dated back to the exact time. So this is one of the very strong sources that I can compellfully say to you right now.
Details.
Yeah,
Details. What research? Which what do we have an article that we can peruse right now where we can go through the details? Which particular thing you have in mind, Jawad? Please.
I do not have a link on me right now, but I would love to. I would love to have you look up later on. as of
I'd like you to present, because I'd like you to present, because there are all sorts of ideas floating around in the internet,
uh,
which aren't really actually, which are just claims. And NASA did this, NASA did that, and everything else. But I don't. Many times when I sort of spend time inquiring, they don't. It's not even true.
mhm,
And
mhm.
so I'd really like you to get the information, Jawad, for me, please. Well, and when I do
Talking
present my
about,
evidence, when I do present
yes,
my contra evidence, I will provide I will provide details of artifacts. I'll even bring them up, archaeological artifacts
I
that
would love that.
yes, absolutely. And that's what I'm talking about. So in other words, for my presentation, for my viewpoint, I'll be supporting by providing evidence. I'll put it this way, very simply. I consider Hinduism to be a late religion. Okay, before even that, Hinduism wasn't one religion back then, and by back then I mean
Mhm.
pre 6th century, pre AD, pre 6th century AD. Hinduism wasn't one religion. Based on strong evidence that I'd be presenting at some stage. Pre that time, there was multiple different religious views, not anything substantial, but local views, little local views coming from different parts of the Indian subcontinent. Sanskrit is a late language. Late language. The early language is not Sanskrit. The ideas of dharmic literature is late, and I can give you an absolute cutoff. Pre Ashoka's time is a cutoff. It is post
Mhm.
Ashoka's time, dharmic literature began to arise across the land area, and
Mhm.
essentially its Brahminic contribution during that time, where you have the Sanskrit dharmic literature. There are also, not just, by the way, Sanskrit dharmic literature across Indian subcontinent. There was also Tamil. I am a Tamil myself. There is a Tamil dharmic literature, not just
Mhm.
Tamil. There is Jain, religiously Jain, and so on. A few different movements I can trace back by citing archaeological artifacts. I consider,
Yes,
yeah. So this is sort of a rough sketch for you, and my point is, I'll be supporting the points that I'm making through evidence at the right time, not so far.
yes.
And so my point right now is, today's intent is to find out if people who claim particular things about early dates of Ramayana have
Mhm.
evidence to substantiate. That's the aim for today, and maybe the next few days,
But then,
few
see, I would have
sessions.
presented the research to you, but the previous speaker has already done more research than what I already originally had. And there
That's
is,
not research, Jawad. Please let me be clear. Please,
it
please,
is, it
please.
is, it is. When you're quoting, see, I have written research papers myself, and when we have to quote other researchers who have done research on it with all the quotations and where we are taking from references and things like this, research is a very crucial factor. So denial
Jawad,
of research, researchers cannot be, accountable, really.
Jawad,
You need to
Jawad,
understand the importance of these people, right?
Jawad.
Mhm.
Please let
Yes.
me, please. If you write a research paper today, for example, I don't know, engineering field somewhere, or what is your field of research? Is it engineering or something else?
Uh, mm, Not exactly engineering, but you can say science. Science
Science.
and
Okay,
literature. Bit of both.
sure. For example, if you're doing some basic science research, some research in physics, for example, or astronomy, whatever, if you write a research paper, you don't just say willy nilly, A claimed this. If you just said in the text of in the main body of your research, A claimed certain things, and B claims certain things, and based on these, I'm going to claim certain other things which are going to sit on top of A's claims and B's claims. It won't work. Your paper will be rejected straight away. You know what needs to happen if you're writing a research paper? If you say A claimed this, you need to first cite where A claimed what. It needs to be in your bibliography. A claimed this in this research paper.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
then if you write a good research paper, now you've cited the paper, which implies you have read the paper.
Yes.
And in your main body, when you're going to use the conclusion of A to then subsequently claim a few things, you would then need to say why you are convinced with what A has said. You need to provide
Correct.
some commentary on that, and then you build on top of that. In other words, details matter. The previous
Yes.
gentleman,
So
I'm not suggesting he doesn't he can't provide. He can very well provide. He came across very articulative, but he just didn't provide today. That's all my point. My point is today he said in Ramayana there is internal evidence that the date is such and such. My point is, hey, what are the details? What particular text are you using? What particular
I mean, he
sloka?
has also referred about the bridge itself, right? And also how ASI, which is very widely accepted and recognized by Indian government itself,
My
its
friend,
research on it.
my friend,
So
please.
these are claims that prove it, right? If you're going to
No,
deny the
me,
existence
please,
of
please,
something like
please,
this, then
please, please, please. When you write a research paper, please try quoting, hey, Princeton University claims this. என்னடா சொல்லுமே? Okay. Princeton University claims this, and based on that, you're going to claim a few other things. Okay. Try this, your paper will be rejected. That point won't be appreciated. You see what I'm saying?
but then
Just
these are
saying,
citations that you have talked about. These are which
yes,
are
I need
properly
details.
these are
Details are
yes,
important. You can't just say
correct. When
NASA
you are
said this, ASI said this, and BSI. No, you need details. ASI said what, in what publication, what was the name of the article. Can we go to the article? What is the actual claim in the article? Can we read through the article? Can we go through the claim in the article? You see what I'm saying? These are important details. Once you go to the article, look at the actual claims, then we can say, now we're not going by the merit of the entity alone, which is claiming, but we are rather now going to the actual substance of the reasoning. Once you
all right.
get
So
there,
you
we
would
can
want
say, you
me
know
to
what,
get
this is being claimed. Come again, please.
so you would want me to directly quote it quote by quote, right? Is that what you want?
Not just that. I'd like for you to be convinced by details, and I'd like for you to share those details with me, so I can go through the details and say, actually, I understand you're convinced by these details. I can either say I am convinced or I can say I'm not convinced. You see what I'm saying? Not everyone may agree
I
with
would love
every
to hear
scientist. I mean, I'll put it this way, very simply. I'll put it this way. Stephen Hawking.
yes.
Stephen Hawking had a particular view of cosmology, of how the universe began. But I'm not
Mhm.
sure. You may or may not know. His own mentor in research had a very different view of how
Mhm.
cosmology happened. Of how the universe came into being. They had contrary views. Stephen
Isn't
Hawking
that just
doing
the freedom of
research
choice?
under. Come again.
You have the freedom of choice in the field of science, psychology, philosophy. You have the
It's
choice of
not
choosing
just
which school of study you want to go to. Like,
it's not just the freedom of choice. It's also that you can completely disagree even with the mentor you had for your PhD. It's as simple as that. Just because
mhm.
someone said something, it doesn't mean you have to agree with it. This is all I'm saying. And therefore, details matter. You may be happy with the claim. I may not be. I need to find the details. This is all I'm saying. And so my point very simply is, Jawad, please. I know there's only a short time left, but please let me put it this way. NASA claims certain things. ASA claims certain things. Whatever, they may or may not be true. I need details. What research are we talking about? What are the substantial claims made? What is the conclusion they have? I'd like to find out where I can access these details, and then I can say, hey, you know what, they are saying this, and I don't think they're even saying what you're saying. For example, I may come to that conclusion, or I may come to a conclusion that, hey, you know what, they are saying what they are saying, but the underlying reasoning is wrong. You know what I mean? So you can come up with all sorts of commentary like that on, this is that's the discussion I'd like to have. Not just say someone said this and therefore. That I'm not keen on. You see what I'm saying? And so, can I please suggest to you, please? There is at least one or two more waiting in the queue. Jawad, it's
Yeah.
lovely speaking
So,
to you. Can I please suggest to you? Hopefully, the other friend we have who was there before you. Hopefully, he'll come back with some details. And he said, of course, it's a long argument in terms of presentation. So I think he was going to email, and therefore we can, via email we can sort of narrow it down and then take it from there. But you're most welcome to follow this conversation. Long story short, I can say this genuinely, which is I genuinely think the claim of the biblical worldview is rock solid.
how?
God creating the world, and a human being being
What about
sinners.
the miracles of Jesus? Have you ever delved into that topic, miracles of Jesus,
What
and the
about
sign,
what?
in the miracles Jesus has done, per
Yeah,
se, the splitting of sea, and what
yeah.
is the exact saying that okay, he has done that? There's no like, let's even say the part where there has been research done, which hasn't been done. The claims in Bible is just a very, how would I say, adverse. Really, you cannot put a dot on it, and it's not something that is backed at all. So when you say that it is rock solid, I would love to argue to that. But you can
Please,
say, yeah, there's a lot of things that are proved right, but rock solid in complete phase of it would not be the right thing to say.
please join us tomorrow. So tomorrow is the day we explore that topic. If you could please,
All right, I
if
would
you
love
could
to say.
please join us tomorrow. The other friend is also joining tomorrow. It'll be lovely to go through some details.
Yeah,
But
all right.
you can please bring up your questions. But of course, it's a little bit later for the Indian time zone. But
That's all
you're
right.
most welcome to join, and you will see the difference in the quality of the argumentation, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, all right.
Can I please say to you, Jawad, it's lovely. Jawad and the other friend is asking if you can tag team. Absolutely, both of you can tag team. If both of you can email me, I can. And if both of you are happy, I can even make you the tag team partners in presenting the argument. But it'll
Yeah,
be lovely to see. Ultimately, let's put it this way. Ultimately, I am interested in pursuing a reasonable discourse, friendly discourse, and both of you. I
yeah,
mean, if I don't trust a person, we won't allow a tag team. But in your cases,
yeah.
we know each other a little bit already, so most welcome to do that.
Yes,
No problem at all. But if both of you agree, please email, and I'll then share your details with each other. Yeah,
I would love that. I would love to. Yes.
cool. Jawad, thank you very much. Lovely to speak to you. Tomorrow,
Yeah.
Christianity under scrutiny. So you're
Thanks for
most
your time.
welcome to join tomorrow and ask me questions similar to what I'm asking today. Yeah,
All right, it will be amazing. Yes, it will be amazing.
cool. Yeah,
Thank you for
lovely.
this
Thank you.
opportunity. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Yeah, speak to you later. Bye bye. Bye bye. Cool. Naren, I do sincerely apologize. I know you've been waiting for a long time, and I should have mentioned this to you earlier. I was going to, but somehow I lost track of commenting. Naren, okay, now you're available. That's lovely. Cool. Sorry. Naren, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine, Arul. How are you doing?
By God's grace, did we speak earlier? Your
Yes,
name
I'm that
rings.
someone. I'm that someone.
You are that. Oh yes, absolutely, absolutely, Naren. It's lovely to have you back. Of course, I had emailed you earlier. Hopefully, you received my
Hmm.
email.
Yes, yes.
Maybe you even replied to the email. I can't remember now. But lovely
I did.
to.
I did.
Yeah. Okay. Lovely, Naren. What do you think? Do you think you have evidence that you can use to help us arrive at an early date for Ramayana? Is that what you would like to take up today?
I know that scholars have opinions on these things, but I don't have any evidence. But I also have something to say. We
Something else you
know
mean?
that uh, something I think makes sense. Okay.
Sure.
We know that we have been under Islamic invasions and rule for 800 years, right? And then the colonial
For how much time? Sorry, come
period,
again.
Islamic rule for around 800 years, right?
Sure, go on.
And the colonial rule for 200 years. So we were under 1,000 years of invasion, and we know everything that happened, even if the people that did won't admit. We know, right? You're a Tamilian.
Yeah, please go on.
Do,
Sorry, yeah.
okay. Do you think under 1,000 years of rule, don't you think they destroyed a lot of evidence that we might have been able to use to defend our religion or culture or whatever? Don't you think so?
Not really. I mean, for a couple of different reasons. This is where when I begin presenting my argument for the late dates of the literature, Naren, my argument would actually depend on artifacts which are very, which are around, like I said, Emperor Ashoka's artifacts, for example. I'd be presenting artifacts which come from pre-colonial era, pre-Islamic rule era, and I'll
Okay.
be presenting details from the artifacts to establish simple facts from there. And in other words, all of this would be completely bypassed. The problem that you are suggesting would be completely bypassed. So that's one aspect of it, and the
So
other
I
aspect.
think the Ashokan Empire, the Mauryan Empire existed before Christianity, right?
Yeah, Maurya Empire is Ashoka's empire is Ashoka particularly was around the 3rd century BC to maybe even 5th century BC, somewhere around in that time.
Okay, go on.
Yeah. So when I'm using the artifacts from him, from his empire, I have bypassed the problem that you are suggesting at all completely. So that's one way of completely ignoring the what you might see as a challenge. Another way of looking at this is that it's all well and good to say that someone destroyed artifacts, but again, it is important to note that we have archaeological artifacts which
Okay, the surviving
have,
ones.
come again, please.
The surviving ones.
Yeah, we have many surviving which are of similar character, which non-Islamic, non-Christian character, which survive. Plenty of them, prominent ones, they survive.
Okay, I think in the last stream you said that the Christian or biblical scriptures predict that the world was created around 6,000 years ago, right?
Something like that, yeah.
I think there is evidence for a river called Saraswati. There are even books published on that by Westerners, not the Eurocentric ones, that a river called Saraswati existed around 6,000 BCE and went extinct around 4,000 BCE, which I think is much older than the creation story in Bible or the biblical texts.
What would the evidence be?
I think you can look up online.
Naren, we need evidence. I can look up. So can I please suggest you, Naren? There are a couple of more people waiting. Maybe 20 more minutes to go. Can I please ask you to check some details? If for the existence Saraswati River, we can go through the details. Please, can you get some details next time, and we'll deal with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go back to the Ramayana.
Sure. If you had any further argument, please.
Even about the Saraswati River, I think there are a few archaeological sites discovered. Some of them date back to 28,000 years. Some of them from radiocarbon dating.
Not radiocarbon.
I think
Radiocarbon.
they even did with some mapping. I don't know what they call it.
Yeah, this is where details matter. Without details, we can't take substantial decisions. We need details.
Go back to Ramayana.
Please.
Okay, do you know Vedic scriptures, right?
Yeah.
You know the 6 sects of them. See, what I want to tell you is, this is what we know from what is existing now. We don't know what might have been gone or what. Let's keep that out. Okay. From what we know, there are 6 sects of Vedic scriptures. Okay, Shruti, Smriti, Siddhanta, Agama, Itihasa, Purana. These Ramayana and Mahabharata, they belong to the category of Itihasa. The word Itihasa literally means this is how it happened. So it is historical texts, not myths, as colonizers would say. Do you get it?
Naren,
Yes.
so I'd like to keep it
Yes.
apolitical,
Okay.
because we're dealing with life and death here. We're dealing with our
Okay.
eternity here. We're dealing with some fairly important details which will have long-standing effect in our lives.
But we can't
And
deny things, right? We know what
my
happened.
my point very simply is
Okay.
keeping taking a political side here will not help. If you
Okay.
want to take political side, as a matter of fact, I can demonstrate that the entire Sanskrit literature actually is foreign literature that came into India. I can demonstrate this.
Okay. Do you believe
And
in
but
the Indo-Aryan theory then?
I'm not talking about any particular theory. I'm talking about evidence-based comments that I could present. I can present from Ashoka's archaeological artifacts as to when the Brahmins had come in, and so on. So I can present details such as that. My point very simply is, but that's not going to help right now.
Okay.
Right now, Naren, very simply is uh, politics. We should keep aside. We
Okay, let's keep
need
them aside.
we need to understand what the truth is in relation to
Okay.
Vedic text, for example. In relation to, for example, Vedic text, my point simply would be, we can't, for example, combine all Vedic texts together as if they're all one group, which they are not. They were
Yes.
written over a very long period of time. Um, uh, Essentially, they fall under different genre, and they don't necessarily have to be considered as one group. We can go
Okay.
right to the early text, Rig Veda, and then start from there
I
and
think
try
the
and
Rig Veda
construct.
is dated. I think the Rig Veda is dated back to 3500 BC, if I'm correct, right?
My question would be whether our dates are right. What are the what on what basis are we arriving at these dates? This is what and this is where I'm choosing this one example of
Mhm.
Ramayana today. And my point simply is, based on evidence, how do we date? That's my question. This is where, in other words,
Mhm.
colonizers, Islamic rulers, that's not the point. If there is historical details in relation to specific events and therefore that impacts dating, please, we can talk about those details. But if not, we are really focused on reconstructing history so we can see what happened. And this is where my point really was. We have early artifacts, pre-colonial, pre-Islamic artifacts that are available to us already, if you see what I mean.
Okay, so we are being scientific here, right?
We're being critical, we are being scientific. Yeah, absolutely. We're being historical. Ultimately, we're looking for something which is credible, that we can use today.
We're also dealing with the religion, where I think a lot of science had originated, aren't we?
Not necessarily, but that's a different story.
But
Did it originate or not is a different story in itself, different quest in itself.
see,
But regardless,
it is according to Western scholars only that the Rigvedic period was around 1500 BC, right? I think at that time the rest of the world was tribes. I think undeveloped, uncivilized. Don't you think so?
1500 BC, rest of the tribes were in India,
No, the rest.
in
They
the
say that
world.
it's the time of the Vedic civilization, right? The Vedic period.
1500 BC.
Yes, the Western scholars say that.
We have writing predating that.
They say
We
so.
have writing predating. We have
Can't
writing
oppose right.
predating that. Come again, please.
Yes, the Rig Veda is dated back to 3500 BC, but the what Western scholars say is that the Vedic period was between 1500 to 500 BC.
1500 is 1500. My point simply is even Indus Valley civilization predates that. And in Indus Valley civilization, we have an entire language which is not yet deciphered. So the point is to say that pre that period, people were didn't have language. And Naren, well, let's. I think we need to call it a day with you, please. Naren, you are a lovely friend. My point is, we need details.
Okay.
Without details, we are merely speculating. Having some personal opinions on speculative ideas. We need details. If
I think
it's,
so.
can I please suggest to you,
I'm not
Naren?
equipped.
Can I? What's that?
I'm not equipped with the right information and all. I think so. Yes.
No problem at all, Naren. You're a lovely man. You're a young man. My point simply would be, please stay tuned. There are a couple of other gentlemen who are in the queue to have a conversation. By the way, dear friends, maybe I'll come to that in a little bit. Please stay tuned today, and please continue watching such streams and some short videos that will be produced in at the appropriate time. Could be a couple of months from now and that sort of stuff. But please follow and then try and see where evidence will lead you. But in the meantime, you can do your own research, and also when you try when you have details, you can bring them up for us to have a conversation, Naren. But today, I need to call it a day with you, please.
Okay.
Yep. But lovely speaking to you. Absolutely lovely speaking to you so far. Speak to you later. Have a lovely rest of the late evening. God's blessings.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Bye bye. Bye bye. There are a few different people who are waiting in the stream. Let me be very clear, please. We have another stream starting in an hour. And so I really need to go with a time limit from now on. What I can do is I can go for another 15 minutes. And so what I'll do right now is bring up Abhishek, you're next in line. There is, let me bring you in and let's have a brief, maybe 10-minute conversation. There's one more gentleman who I haven't spoken to so far, maybe 10 minutes with him, and we'll wrap it up for the day. Jawad, please, I know Jawad, you're also back on the in the backstage, but please, I really want to go with Abhishek and Billy, 10 minutes each, and then wrap things up for me to have a break before the next stream at 8 p.m. London time, please. Thank you. So Abhishek, how are you doing?
Hey, Arul, how are you?
Yeah, by God's grace, okay. How are you doing?
Yeah, fine. So, I got your reference from YouTube, and see you're challenging lot of people and making yourself very prone to get killed. So take care of yourself, right? And so could not join last time. So I want to know what is your question for today?
So
In this.
today we are particularly to Thursday. This particular session is on exploring Indian religions, especially
Right.
Hinduism, but other Indian religions also, Buddhism, Jainism, Sikhism. We can do. But today's focus is particularly on Ramayana. We could consider Mahabharata also if that makes it convenient.
Yeah.
And the challenge is really in asking if these are early literature. You might be familiar with the idea that some people date Ramayana, Mahabharata to 6000 BC, 8000 BC, and even further back.
Right.
So the question is that sort of date justifiable? That's the challenge for today. We're really looking for some evidence-based argument around that.
Right. Yeah. So, see, the theory of this all Ramayana and Mahabharata, right? So, Krishna knew Rama, but Rama never knew Krishna, right? And all this Dashavatar and all the theory are just meant to understand the concept of Vedas are the early scriptures, right? Uh, do you heard about Vedas? I think these are the creatures. These are written by the God as a part of kind of. God gives you the voice in your heart, and then someone wrote. There is no name on the Vedas, right? And these are the texts which are the words of wisdom and not specific to any religion, right? These are the something that human can understand and benefit. Uh, so what we are looking is the dates of Ramayana and Mahabharata. I think these are immaterial, right? For example, someone came in particular date and then did some work, but then he died because he is a human being, correct? And then later these books are created, and we lost a lot of things, right? So we don't know whether Ramayana and Mahabharata dates are correct. And the same way other religions has made their book and make this book as Asmani Kitab or something like that. But I think this is immaterial whether Ramayana and Mahabharata should be considered as a very factual representation of data happened at the time in the history. Do you agree that these books are just our reference and may not be the representing the truth, the fact that happened at a particular time instance, right?
Yeah, I completely. It's not just a maybe in my mind, but of course I need to. At a subsequent stage, I'd be presenting my argumentation as to why both Ramayana and Mahabharata were originally even meant to be fiction, but fiction with a purpose, which is really dharmic literature, to suggest what dharma is and that sort of stuff. Fiction, number one. And number two, these are late literature. The absolute early date for the both Ramayana and Mahabharata is really the period of Ashoka, not pre-Ashoka. It can only be post-Ashoka. And the idea that so in other words, it's late literature, and the point very simply is not history. So those two are important points that I really want to sort of commend to my fellow Indians. And to do that, I really wanted to engage in a comprehensive dialogue, and that's the motivation. So I completely agree that these are when I present my conclusion, you'd see my reasoning for that: late literature. Which means when many people think that Ramayana is history and it happened 8,000 years ago and so on, and based on that they even take political stands on various things and religious stands,
Right.
I think these are unjustified. And I'd really compare and contrast. I'm a Christian myself, so I'd like to compare and contrast that with the Christian worldview of Jesus Christ and of the historicity of what happened in his life, death, burial, resurrection, and how only through Jesus Christ we receive actual eternal solution for our sins. So only he is the way. So I want to present that comparative study, but I want to present that in a detailed manner, not as a political statement I make, or
Right.
my religion is right, your religion is wrong, that sort of state, but
No, no.
rather to look at the evidence to bring these details out. That's the goal.
Right. So I think you are doing a comparative study, I got to know, but to understand that these are the very recent things. So today is 2024, and we know that Jesus born just 2024 years before, and then the same with Islam and these religions, right? uh, but do you agree that if all books are lost, then there won't be any religion? Do you agree that?
Well, if all of us are lost, then that there
No,
won't
no,
be
no.
any religion also.
What I'm
And
I'm saying, why preserving a book and following a book is only meant for following human should follow a book.
Abhishek, I hear your question.
Hmm.
My response is this: I genuinely think God of the Bible is true God,
Hmm.
and I genuinely think
Hmm.
that He actually has a different plan for us. Not this life where we are just dying. This sort of life, He actually wants to have us in eternity with Him. But because we have messed up big time, we are where we are right now, and He'd like for us to get back to Him, and there is a particular process. Now He is in control, He's in control over the history of the future of this universe. So including the future of literature and that sort of stuff. So I'm really not concerned about whether text will be lost and that sort of stuff. My focus is on establishing the historicity of the Christian claim, but I want to get into the details of that on Friday, tomorrow. Tomorrow is
Okay.
when we do that. Today, I want to do the other side of the story, analysis of the other side of the story. In other words, in my mind, Abhishek, there is no concern of whether we are going to have books and that sort of stuff. In my mind, it's very simply, hey, we are around right now. We are meant to be children of God. All of us are meant to be children of God. And I know some stuff. I know about God, some details that I'd really like to somehow bring up as a result of a fairly detailed analysis. That's the motivation.
Yes, perfectly agree. I think your understanding of Bible may be more than understanding of evidences that we have in Hindu text. That is perfectly fine. So there are some books published by the Mr. Oak. I can share you if you can share your email address. I can
Yeah, let
share
me.
some of the work. Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
email address on the screen.
Okay.
If
Okay.
you want to send some details and would like to follow up maybe on a Zoom conversation or something, or maybe we do subsequent conversations on StreamYard, most welcome.
Okay.
Abhishek, it's lovely to
Great.
speak to you today. Can I please suggest there's one more gentleman waiting? We already gone past my the deadline I had in mind, but I'd really like to just have a quick word with him. But
Yeah.
lovely to
Sure.
speak to you today also.
Sure.
Speaking
Thank
to
you.
you
Thank
today.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Abhishek. I look forward to your email.
Yeah. Sure.
God's
Thank you.
blessings to you. Speak to you later. Bye bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Hello, Billy.
Hello, Brother Arul. Thank you very much for inviting me in. I'm Billy. I'm an Indian by origin, but at the moment I'm living in the UK. I just wanted to make a couple of observations based on our friends who were in the chat. Uh, Everyone is coming and asking you to come and then just read this up and do that. But the onus is on them first to bring up a concrete evidence and then challenge you saying, okay, this is what it says, this is what Oak says, this is what it says. But it's like everything they're just saying, just because someone says this, we are believing it. Because the other speaker was saying that, are you going to challenge a doctor and then ask him, are you a doctor? And then you believe him. So that was his main reasoning. I'm a medical doctor myself. I just want to bring in few of my views. So if I say to a patient saying, for example, you suffer with some chest infection, just because I say that you are with some chest infection doesn't mean that he has chest infection. I have to prove and evidence a systematic order. For example, I take his history, and then there are a few things, few red flags that I identify. Then I do some blood tests, and then I do a chest X-ray, and if need be, I do a CT scan of the chest. And based on all of these things, I say, yes, likely you're having a chest infection. And well, there may be things that we do not understand. For example, during COVID-19, there was a new virus. We did not know what to do. But since it was a pandemic, WHO or some other bigger organization based on the research done in different parts of the world, it comes up with few guidelines. So for media's sake, just because WHO said something, media might buy that. But when I want to put that into practice, I just don't want just a word from WHO. I just want to know what the methodology they used. So how many patients they used this drug? Was there any evidence? No evidence? Was there any bias? Were there any confounders? And all of these. And at the end of the day, then everything has to be textually criticized. I know there are few, for example, if you can bring up the chart from Google, which says evidence hierarchy, the least of the evidence that we have is the evidence of the opinion. So that's the least evidence we have. That's not credible at all in the medical field. So the most valid evidence that we have or systematic research is where we do research at different centers, and then the test has to repeat the same value every time, and then only we can say, yes, there is validity for this argument. Of course, experimental science is not always possible in history when we talk about religion, but at least they should come up with circumstantial evidence saying, as you said, at least we know some science about the sand formation. So they should come up and say, okay, this is the way that sand has formed, and this is the reason. So we can date back to say 8,000 years or something, not just quoting some Indian research organization and just say, well, this research organization said this, and so we believe it. No, you need to go back and then look at why did they say so? Why did they say 8,000? So whether it is based on their expected, whether based on some science, or is it just because of their opinion? Because if you see Kanpur IIT, it's completely a biased one, and then it is known for giving out things like this. And that's totally funded. I appreciate your point in trying to be non-political, because what's happening is an entire political party at the moment in India is running based on, saying that, the Mughals have destroyed the evidence, the British have destroyed the evidence, but there may be some truth to it. But as you said, if you can go back to Ashoka's time, then they don't have any candy over there, isn't it? So for the benefit of others, what I would say is, Brother Arul has got a lot of things to deal with. If you want to challenge him, come up with your solid, concrete evidence, and just don't ask him about. So Vedas were 3,500 years, right? So he's not saying that. You are saying that. So if you come up with an argument, you present your solid evidence for that. Don't ask him and then try to, because even if they say if Mahabharata and Ramayana were true, then again we have to, even if it were to be true, say for that matter, like Islam, like if Muhammad was there, then again comes whether that's true or not, whether the religion of Hinduism is true or not, whether that's the way to eternal life or not, is another question that they have to deal with. But we are still stuck at the historicity, trying to prove whether it has happened or not. For example, people might come and say Muhammad was there, but still presence of Muhammad doesn't make Islam correct, isn't it? So we go back to criticize Hinduism, Christianity. Just because Christ lived doesn't mean that Christianity is the true religion. The tenets of Christianity, the concept of Jesus Christ coming and atoning, and there's a pattern. So based on that, we say, okay, based on all of these, this is the most scientific way of life at the moment. So Hinduism, even if they prove if a Mahabharata Ramayana existed, doesn't mean that is the way to eternal life. Because as you said, it is life and death matter here. What's at stake is not some winning an argument here. We are rather ready to lose an argument if they are ready to, if we need to win them for Christ. The point is not about winning an argument here. Sorry, brother, go ahead.
I completely second what you've said so far, and here is where I'd really like, and of course, I'd really, the audience we're engaging with through God's grace, I'd really like to make sure, even as you were speaking, I saw a number of comments that flowed through the live chat. I really want to make sure everyone is on the same page. We are all fellow human beings.
Yes, that's correct.
We are all on the same side of this story.
Yes, as you said, when you're coming with your evidence, as you said, so you will come with an evidence saying, okay, based on this, I'm making this claim. Based on this, I'm making this claim. Not just because, there was some biased Christian writer, and that's why the Christian writers say it, or say, for example, Billy Graham say it, or say Pope say it, that's why I'm saying this. That doesn't happen, isn't it? So you need to bring out your evidence, and that is what you're saying you're going to bring. So when you bring out that, so we can go back, do our own research and see if Brother Arul is saying true or not. So that is how it has to be, because we are not like, this is not juicy media stuff. We are actually dealing with scholarly things. So we just don't take scholars by their name. We go back, look at their methodology, whether they were right or wrong, because as you say, there is always two viewpoints in both sides. Both sides have got scholars, and both sides have different points. Sorry, brother. I'm sorry for taking up your time. Thank you very much.
No problem at all. It's lovely to have you. We thank you very much for your comments there, Billy. Lovely to speak to you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Speak to you later. Thank you. God's blessings. Now, I know there is one more. There are a couple of more people. Deepak. Of course, we have spoken earlier. I'm assuming it's the same Deepak as who I've spoken to before. Deepak, I need to really wrap up right now. Please, can I request you to email and we can schedule something. I know you were going to get back, with evidence in relation to Ramayana. I'm assuming it's the Deepak from Botswana. Please, Deepak, I need to close right now. So next week there is also another person, gentleman or lady, I don't know, but with a very interesting, very offensive name. My dear friend, as much as I'd really still want to consider you as a friend, if you want to be offensive, I'm really not interested. If you think people are just fools where you can slander them and mock them and scoff them, I'm not interested. Try this somewhere else. Please try this somewhere else. I'm really not interested. I know a number of people are making a similar offensive comment across various comments in our channel. Not interested. Please, you're most welcome to try your ideas elsewhere. Now, not interested in speaking to you today. Unless actually if you mean something very, very different in terms of your meaning. Deepak, I need to wrap up, please. We need to speak later. I do apologize. I have in 40 minutes, I have another stream, and before which I need to do a few more things. So thank you very much, everyone. To everyone, I just wanted to share this parting thought over a minute. Very simply, my precious fellow Indians, I consider everyone I run into precious because I know how my God looks at each and every human being. Human beings are precious in God's eyes, even though it might appear that that is not the case at all. For example, if we run into some difficulty, we may think no one really cares, for example. But in the sight of the true God, God of the Bible, each one of us is precious. Every one of us. And that is what, as a Christian, I've been taught. And I'm sure all the other Christians on the live chat and in my team, all of us agree. We consider every human being precious. You might disagree with us in terms of religion today, but that doesn't diminish how precious you are in the sight of God. And that is our ultimate foundation with which we do these streams. I completely understand you might have plenty of emotions when we are scrutinizing a worldview such as yours, but please bear in mind, in my mind and in the mind of my team, mind of my friends on the live chat, we are friends working some things out together. That's how we are approaching this. Ultimately, we want to walk with you, go through some details to understand what is ultimately true. This is what we want to find. And so please, even as I'm about to close right now, can I please request, even in the future, we will have specific goals in mind for our different streams, and we'll have maybe the same theme running for a few different weeks. Can I please request less heat, more light? I am a fellow human being. Please respect me. And I'd be respecting you. Even if you disrespect me, I'll still be respecting you, because that's how my God has asked me to treat you. And I'd really, really look forward to getting to the bottom of the truth. What is truth? Is Jesus God? Is Jesus on the cross my only solution to sin? Or are there other worldviews which are also valid? This is the question we are exploring. But please, I'd like for all of us to explore this together in a friendly manner. So with that, let me finish in a word of prayer. Father, we thank you for this time. Lovely, lovely speaking to very many, very lovely people, friendly. Of course, we are only in the second week of our dedicated stream on Indian religion. So we're still on a very sort of nascent stage. But hopefully over the next few weeks, people will begin getting an idea of what kind of evidence they need to bring and that sort of stuff. I want to really pray for your rich blessings to be upon everyone who was here on the stream. I might disagree with them thoroughly today, but that's not the point. The point is these are precious human beings. So I really want to bless each one of them, Lord. And this is in your heart too, to bless human beings, take care of human beings, long for human beings, long for them to return to you. This is what's in your heart, and I am merely your servant. So, and that is the exact command I have received also. So, Lord, thank you. Pray for your rich blessings to be upon everyone. The number of non-Christian friends who have showed up on the live chat who haven't been on the stream, pray for your rich blessings to be upon them too. Lord, thank you for each one of them. Sometimes I see hostile comments, but doesn't matter. Really pray that through your spirit, Lord, over a period of time, that people will understand we're trying to be friendly, and they'll also learn to be friendly in engaging with serious issues in life. Life and death is at stake. Our eternal lives are at stake. So, Lord, for everyone to take this seriously and for us to march on, exploring the details of what is true, what is to be understood through human history, what is to be understood through Indian history, and pursue these conversations, Lord. Common all things in your hands. Thank you for this time, Lord. We have another stream coming up. Please help us. In Jesus' precious name we pray. Pray also for the Christian brothers and sisters who are on the live chat, who are, as always, a huge pillar of support for the work that I and my team are doing. Commend them all in your hands, Lord. Pray for your blessings, Lord. Take care of everyone who would be watching the recorded video later on also. Please, Lord, let your blessings be upon everyone. In Jesus' precious name we pray. Amen. Thank you very much, everyone. Lovely to see you all. And in 35 minutes, there is going to be the next stream, which is on atheism and agnosticism. It's lovely to have spoken to everyone I've spoken to right now. And those I haven't spoken to right now, I'm really looking forward to catching up with you all at a later stage. God's blessings to you all. Thank you. Bye. Yes, sweetheart. என்னடா சொல்லுமே